As for travelers coming to Canada by air, land, and marine, there are no changes. Il n'y a pas
There are no changes for travelers entering Canada.
All travelers entering Canada must continue to follow all entry requirements, including vaccination and using ArriveCan. As for cruise ships, vaccination for passengers and crew will remain in place. This decision is based on the unique nature of cruise ship travel, including the fact that passengers are in close contact with each other for an extended periods of time. Also, travelers on federally regulated planes and trains still need to wear a mask.
We're going to suffer through this together. We're going to add Omar Algebra's voice.
As for travelers
Sorry, hold
coming
on.
to Canada by air,
We're going to add Omar Algebra's voice to that list of nauseating voices that make you want to throw up a little in your mouth. So far on the list, we've got Joe Biden. We had Jen Psaki. We have the new press secretary. I don't know her name offhand. We have Theresa Tam, Dr. Theresa Tam. We have Bonnie. Oh, what's her name? Who's the one from British Columbia and the one from Alberta? We have both of them. Dina Hinshaw, Justin Trudeau. Add to the list. I think he's our Minister of Transport, Omar Algebra. Let's listen to this gem. And by the way, everyone appreciate the fact that let's just go see if we're demonetized yet. Let's just see. It's been 30 seconds. All we've had is Omar Algebra talking. We're still good. Appreciate the fact that Omar Algebra, to show that he speaks French, although I'm not sure that he actually does based on the amount of French he spoke, they have to throw this in. They go mix it back and forth to English and French, but when you don't speak French all that well, you do as little as possible in French. Listen to the gem of this public announcement and see what you can make out of it.
As for travelers coming to Canada by air, land, and marine, there are no changes.
As for those coming to Canada, there are no changes. Okay.
Il n'y a pas.
There are no changes.
Il n'y a pas de changement
for travelers
pour
entering Canada.
les voyageurs
All travelers
qui entrent le
entering
Canada.
Canada must continue to follow all entry requirements, including vaccination and using ArriveCan.
They must continue to respect all entry requirements, and by his wording, including vaccination. This is the announcement they make. I think it's today, on the day that they announce that they are ending certain restrictions for the unvaccinated to board planes and trains. The obvious question anybody should be asking themselves, and it's the question that Kian Bexty was asking there, does this mean that the unvaccinated can leave, but in order to come back, they have to satisfy vaccination requirements? In as much as I despise the current government and Omar Algebra and his participation in it, I don't think so. I think what it means is that if you're unvaccinated, you have to quarantine when you get back for no less than 14 days, which I think is even more torturous. And I'll one day express, or I'll share my own anecdotal experience with this. But I think what it means, if you are 12 and over and not exempt and unvaccinated, for those of you who don't know, you have to quarantine, and they say it, for no less than 14 days. And if you're unvaccinated, because they trust and love the science here in Canada, Justin Trudeau is all about the science. If you're unvaccinated, 12 and older, you have to wear a face mask in public, in school, etc., for, I think it's 10 days upon arrival. So they're saying here, this is the news. This is the news of the day, by the way. Justin Trudeau has stopped hitting you, everyone, so stop complaining about it. Canada dropping vaccine mandate for domestic and outbound international travel, but only as of June 20. The science changes at 11:59, June 19. They can't do it today because they've got to flex even in the moment in which they concede. The tyrannical government has to flex even when they concede. They could just call it as of now. They could just end it right now. In fact, there is absolutely no scientific justification for which, what date are we today? We're the 14th. Why we have to wait basically another week. There's no scientific possible justification for it. It's one last flex. Who's your daddy before we concede? The Canadian government is dropping the requirement that domestic and outbound international travelers be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 effective June 20. However, all re-entry requirements will remain in effect and all passengers will continue to have to wear face masks. Okay, maybe they're going to clarify. This change will allow unvaccinated Canadians, it will allow them to board planes as though they needed permission to exercise their constitutional rights of mobility, interprovincial travel, and just basic human decency. This change will allow unvaccinated Canadians to board planes and trains heading to either domestic or international locations, but they will still be required to follow the current testing and quarantine requirements upon re-entry from international destinations. I would like Algebra to say that, to clarify. Further, due to the unique nature of cruise ship travel, the vaccination requirements for passengers and crew will remain in effect. Sure, because you're in close proximity on a cruise ship, but not on a plane. Oh, but it's only 6 hours, 10 hours, maybe 12 hours on a plane. But cruise ship, you're too close together for too long. It's the science, people. It's the science. The requirement to use the ArriveCan app to show proof of vaccination upon arrival to avoid a federal quarantine will continue. Oh my. And all travelers will have to continue to abide other countries' entry requirements, potentially limiting destinations for unvaccinated travelers, yada, yada, yada. No, I'm not actually sure. I think Canada was one of the last holdouts in this unconstitutional madness to avoid federal quarantine. I'm sorry. They will still have to show vaccination in order to avoid federal quarantine. By the way, it's outrageous. There are no words for it. But Justin Trudeau now expects us to thank Big Brother for stopping the constitutional abuse. I've stopped hitting you, so now you can stop complaining about it. Don't be a baby, Johnny. I wasn't slapping you. I wasn't punching you. I was hitting you. Don't be a baby, Canadians. I gave you your travel rights back, even though if you're unvaccinated, when you come back, you've got to go into detention for 14 days. Stop complaining. It's not such a big deal. And apparently, nonetheless, by the way, you know what's going to happen, by the way. You know what's going to happen is they're going to use this as an excuse to try to toss the current pending constitutional challenges to this. You know they're going to do it. They're going to argue lack of standing. You're no longer prejudiced by the policy, which is no longer in effect. Lack of standing, dismiss. Even though it satisfies the exception of it runs the risk of recurring. We need resolution on this question. And it's not because you stop abusing us constitutionally that you shouldn't be sanctioned for your constitutional abuses if the court comes to what I think is the only logical conclusion, that they were in fact unconstitutional edicts, constitutional violations, which I don't know how you quantify them, but they are fundamentally unlawful and therefore need rectification, remediation, and compensation. But we're going to get to some funny memes in a second. Keith Wilson, who is representing, Brian Peckford in his constitutional challenge, says in a tweet, if this is accurate, as lead counsel for the Peckford Travel Mandate Charter Challenge, I can advise that we intend to proceed with our ongoing case to the federal court. The court needs to rule on the constitutionality of the government restricting millions of Canadians' rights. Yes, they do. And they need to sanction the violation in so far as they come to the conclusion that there was, in fact, a violation. But I also want to read my responses. I stopped abusing you, so it wasn't illegal or abusive, and stopped complaining about the abuse because I stopped abusing you. Justin Trudeau, the abuser of all Canadians. I don't know if it's ever going to trend, but who knows? Hashtag Trudeau, the abuser. There's actually a better one in there. Trudeau, something that rhymes with O that has the same tone to it. And by the way, can we all appreciate this? It just happens to coincide with Justin Trudeau allegedly testing positive yet again for the Rona, twice within January to February, March, April, May, twice within 5 months. And I think it's his third time, because I do remember he was in isolation when his wife and mother tested positive back in 2020. Although now that I think about it, I'm not actually sure that he got tested at the time. And I don't remember the details. I think that he has actually tested positive 3 times, but if I'm wrong, it's no less than 2 times in the last 5 months. It's only after, despite all of these restrictions that he's put on the unvaccinated, you can be negative and not be allowed to fly just because you're unvaccinated. This dude, double vaxxed, probably double boosted, gets the Rona, or at least tests positive for it twice in 5 months. You try to go ahead and justify those constitutional violations given that fact pattern. Try to do it. And the amazing thing is, yeah, he's out partying in California, then traveling back, and there is some disagreement or some discussion as to whether or not he traveled back with the Rona. And I'm not sure about the rules. I think even if you're, in theory, someone who's vaccinated and tested positive can cross by road if they have a quarantine place to come when they arrive. You try to justify the measures that he's imposed on unvaccinated Canadians when this guy, double vaxxed, probably double boosted, if he's not lying, tested positive twice now within 5 months, while other Canadians are denied constitutional rights because of their medical status, not because of their being positive with the Rona, being negative from the Fauci jab. 1 day later, they make the announcement. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. It is his third time. I need the link to the third. When I Google it, all I get are the 2 most recent positive tests. And some people are suspecting he's lying. And I'm like, the lie would be almost worse than the truth, because the lie would still have the same impact on the policy he's pushing. Whereas the truth just shows the idiocy of the policy. And lo and behold, the day later, after he catches the Rona while gallivanting around with Gavin Newsom and Joe Biden in California in the States, comes back with it. And now here's a dash of your privileges back. When we took them from you, they were rights. When we decide if and when you get them back, they're privileges. Oh, Nate Brody's in the house, man. Okay, hold on. So let me just, before I bring in Nate, 2 super chats and the standard disclaimer. Seize the day. Viva must watch Johnny Depp and Jeff Beck sing "This Is a Song for Miss Hedy Lamarr." Official release, YouTube. Stunning and telling. Freedom prevails. Honk. Seize the day. Thank you very much. I met Seize the Day in person in Ottawa. It was actually quite awesome. Why not fly out of Buffalo? Do you need this BS to go into the USA and back to Canada? No. What people are doing is they drive across the border and then they fly in the US, because it's easier to cross the border, apparently, if you're one of them dirty unvaxxed. Nate just disappeared. I hope I did not keep him. He's probably just rebooting. So that's the story of the day. I had another one on the backdrop. Forget what it was. It doesn't matter. People, I cannot take credit for other people's knowledge. I would like to sometimes and get the early scoop and first of all, I wouldn't even like to pretend I had the knowledge, because it would feel fraudulent. Nate calls me up yesterday and says, Dave, I was just doing a video preparing to do a video on January 6th. And I Googled January 6th inciting the erection. And I get a story. I'm like, what the heck is this? Because I put in as a typo the date. I think instead of 2020, I think he put in 2017 or something, and discovered something extremely interesting. And I said, Nate, I would love to snip this and share it today, but this is your story, Nate. Okay, now he's smiling. I'm bringing him in. Standard disclaimers. YouTube takes 30% of super chats. If you don't like that, we are simultaneously streaming on Rumble. They take 20% of Rumble rants, so you can feel better getting more to the creator and supporting a platform that supports free speech. No legal advice, no medical advice, no election fornication advice, though we're going to be playing a clip from NPR that they broadcast, and that's still available on YouTube. What else? Stay tuned for some big stuff this week. Nate, I'm bringing you in. Clothing.
Yes. What's going on, brother? Ah. Ugh.
I wanted to skip it completely. I can't. This is your discovery, and I think you're going to clip some of this material if you make a standalone video on it. Nate,
Your audio's coming in a little funny for me. I don't know if it's just me.
hold on, I
No,
think
I got you now. I got you now.
Okay,
Sorry.
good. Hold on a second. Ways easy. Thank you very much.
Oh, ways easy.
And there was one more. Nate,
All right. Audio's good now.
explain what happened. Now I hear a little buzzing
Okay.
on your, but I think it's good enough. Explain what happened.
All right, so this is what happened, people. Now, you guys know I'm a deep diver, so I like to jump deep into any issue. So I said, well, I wanted to explain January 6th from law enforcement, because you guys know I have a law enforcement background. So I wanted to explain it from a law enforcement angle, just to counter the narrative that this was all kind of just a plan and nobody knew what was going on. I wanted
Hold on a second, Nate.
Go ahead.
Sorry, let me just see. Is my
Your audio's
audio
better. Yes, your audio's better.
Okay.
Remember I told you about that earlier.
Chat, let me know. 1, the audio is good. 2, the audio is bad, or good or bad. Okay,
Audio is
sorry.
good. you
Carry
don't trust me. Audio's good. Audio's good. So I went down this rabbit hole. So when I I was looking, because I was doing the video, so I was looking for just a headline from January 6th. So I was like, so then when you're typing in the headlines, it just was, you're getting all this new stuff. So I was like, you know what? Let me put the date January 6th, 2020, so I can just get what happened on that day. So I put the search parameter in, and I put 2020. And I started seeing all this stuff from 2016, riots, all these people arrested. I'm like, hold on, this is 2017. Maybe something is wrong. So then I was like, oh, you know what? It's not 2020. It's January 6th, 2021. So by putting in the wrong date, I found another insurrection. And not only did we find another insurrection, this insurrection that we found was for the purpose of overthrowing not only the government and stopping the transfer of power. Now, go ahead, Viva.
Let me bring it.
Show the Wikipedia page.
Do you see my Twitter thing here? Do you see Google now on the? Have you shared?
You're not sharing it, yeah.
Because I'm an idiot. Okay, let's do this. So we go Google, and then we go January 6th riot. I'm just gonna go to this riot.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's just see this. So you get the 2021.
Yes.
But if you go to let's just do
now Trump
like
inauguration
17.
riots.
It's funny. What did I do to find it yesterday?
You got all right. Type in Trump inauguration riots, because you have to, or you can do it by date. But Trump inauguration riots.
Inauguration
Riots.
Because it had a name. It had a name
Yes.
on Wikipedia.
But just type in Trump, because everything now is going to.
True.
So instead of January inauguration, Trump inauguration riots, and put in wiki, and you'll see disrupt 2020. There it is.
Okay.
Scroll down. Disrupt J
Wiki.
2020.
Disrupt 2020. Where did we see it?
You go back one. Just go back on your browser and just scroll down.
Dude,
It's right
why
there.
did I found it? I told you, Nate, that once we do this, there's going to be some serious.
I know, but
okay, here.
just hit the back button once. Hit the back button once,
What's the back button? Okay, back here.
and then scroll down just a little bit more, Keep going. It should say disrupt 2020 wiki. Nah, you missed. It must be. Go back one more page.
You know what?
Go back one page.
Disrupt
2020.
2020.
Not 2020. 2017. There it is. No. Yeah. Let me. I got it right here. Viva.
No. Here it is. Nope.
Okay, you found it.
Nope. Well, that might be.
We said they were gonna make it harder to find, but I got it.
Here we
Trump
go. Here
inauguration.
we go. Jeez, Louise. Disrupt.
You finally found it.
Yeah. So
There it is. Yes. Okay. So now we got it.
Let's read this out loud.
Go ahead,
Because
read it. So now just so everybody understands what we're talking about. Remember what they're saying about January 6th, people, and you guys have to remember this. This before we read this. January 6th was a planned insurrection, and the insurrection was to stop the transfer of power from Joe Biden to President Trump. And it was a coordinated attack. It was planned, it was coordinated, and the violence was all because of the planning and violence and the fact that the candidates were saying that the election was stolen, the election was not legitimate, right? That's what we were told. So now, go back to disrupt.
Even before we go there, I was paying attention at the time. I don't recall this. Who in the chat recalls this from the time, knows where this is going, or is surprised by this? 1, we knew it. too surprised. And now, to bring it up and read it.
Well,
Let me get my-
before you read that, let's show them what happened that day with the video. Let me show them this video to show you guys what happened during that day. So I'm gonna share my screen. Here it is.
And for anybody who doesn't get the joke about inciting the erection, that's not a Freudian slip by me. I think it's Chuck Schumer who accidentally said that during the second impeachment. Donald Trump, who incited the erection. Okay, check this out, people. This is not 2021. Oh, sorry, this is not 2021.
This is 2017.
This is 2017.
I remember 2017 planned attack to stop the transfer of power from Barack Obama to
as reported on NBC News.
Correct.
Burning cars and smashed windows. A small group of protesters dressed in black, their faces covered, armed with.
Now you see the small group where everybody, but you see, I just want to be clear. But you see how coordinated it is. We're all dressed in the same colors. We all have the same weapons. We all have the same plan. So just so we all understand. And they call us a small group, but obviously they don't want to call it. But hundreds arrested from a small group of protesters, but over like 200 or 300 people arrested. That's not a small group of people.
Hammers and bricks. Facing off with thousands of officers on site, many in riot gear, confronting them with flashbang grenades and pepper spray.
Go ahead.
Thousands of officers. Sorry, just have to pick up on that.
Thousands, and not only that, in riot gear, right? So we got thousands of officers in riot gear. Because, and again, that's because they knew they were coming. And because they were coming, they said, we're going to plan for them, right? We're going to plan for these thousands of people coming to show up to take over the government. So we got thousands of cops in riot gear, right? That makes sense. Unlike they did with January 6, 2021, they were prepared there. So let me get you to play it.
But just also,
go ahead.
You appreciate that we can now, in hindsight, appreciate the spin. Summer of Love, some slightly fiery, but mostly peaceful protests. What did they say? A few hundred smashing windows with thousands of cops. Okay, a few hundred.
All of a sudden, the police officers started to spray pepper spray, and they got our audio technician. They're going to see us running because they're going to throw more flashbangs.
The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration and parade route.
Now, just so everybody understands the difference, because people will say, well, what was the difference? Well, the difference is that they created a perimeter around all the big buildings. So nobody can get to them, right? They had thousands of officers that created a perimeter. So in other words, you can't get to the building. January 6th, they had no perimeter. So you could literally walk right up to the building. Go ahead.
Teacher, question. Was the perimeter that they set up for this parade route, was it bike fences or was it a real perimeter?
No, they had cops there. You'll see it. You're going to see it. You're going to see it in a second. Check it out.
I personally have anti-establishment slants, but I don't think that this is anything that I want to be a part of.
Even what a protest is like. This shit is crazy.
Good for him. I mean, if you're gonna get caught on camera, get caught on camera saying the right thing. Okay.
Here it is. So you see, this is how they had the checkpoint. See how big the fences are? See, there's only a certain amount of way to get inside there. So these are the checkpoints they put around the building. So you can't even get to the building.
What date was this? This was not the 6th. This was for the
This is
inauguration.
January 20th, 2017. 14 days after January 6th.
Before the swearing-in ceremony even began, protesters tried to block checkpoint entrances. During President Trump's speech, several demonstrators were escorted out of the area. Several officers injured during the protest today.
Officers injured.
And more than 100 people arrested.
200 people were actually arrested.
Once the inaugural parade began...
So just so we can also understand, too, the spin. If 200 people are arrested, how the hell are we calling this a small protest?
And by the way, I'm also curious to know what the detainment conditions were, the duration of those detainments, and the ultimate charges that were pressed against those 200.
I got that. All charges were dropped. All charges were dropped from everybody who was arrested. Think about that.
The newly sworn-in president facing thousands of peaceful protesters amongst his supporters. NBC's Stephanie Gosk was with him all day.
When Donald Trump took the oath of office, the people here sang, "We shall overcome."
Resist from day one!
Similar demonstrations across the country. Arrest outside Trump Tower, New York City. A human chain across San Francisco's
coordinated protest across the country. So this wasn't even limited to D.C. This was coordinated across the country. right? Court, stop trying to attempt to stop the man, stop the transfer of power. Mostly peace.
Golden Gate Bridge. From Phoenix to Houston to Chicago, people protesting the country's new president on his first day in office.
Tonight, thousands of protesters.
So that's the first piece of evidence that I wanted to bring to you to show you that this happens. This not only did it happen, it happened before. And this was covered also by the mainstream media. Just to show you how bad it was, here's CNN's coverage, because CNN's the one trumpeting this January 6th stuff. I want to show you CNN's coverage because I'm just going to show you their I just want to show you their headline from their online version. And look what they said.
Police injured, more than 200 arrested at Trump inauguration protests in D.C. Nate, I'm going to ask one legal question. I don't know the answer to it. Is an inauguration the same legal beast as the certification of the votes? Is it a congressional hearing, or is it a judicial process, or is it just a parade?
No, the inauguration is the actual All right, so January 6th is like the preparation for the transfer of power. So that's where you count the votes. And then the actual turning over the keys, I give you power, is the inauguration. Okay. So what they were trying to do is stop Trump from being inaugurated. That was the plan. Let's stop Trump from taking the oath of office, because if he doesn't take the oath of office, he can't become president.
Do I bring it back up, or do I go to Wikipedia now?
We can go to Wikipedia, but I want to give people just the bottom line of what was going on and what they were planning to do. So now, if this is, I personally don't see any differences between this Disrupt J20 and January 6th, except where it happened, right? Because this happened in the street because police wouldn't let them get close to the buildings. But this one, but January 6th happened in the building because police failed and let the protesters get to the building. But just imagine if these protesters got to the building. What do you think would have happened?
Whether or not it's even a material distinction that they didn't. The only thing I'm wondering is if someone can make the legal argument, even on a technicality basis, the inauguration is not obstructing a congressional proceeding, so therefore different in that sense. But
oh no, it's even worse, because you're disrupting the transfer of power. The transfer of power is just as important, if not more.
Listen to the way Wikipedia describes this as of now. We'll see if it gets. I'm going to just go ahead and screen grab this.
Go ahead. You make it so we'll lose this.
I suspect there'll be some stealth edits after this broadcast. Disrupt J20. It had a name, by the way. That's how I. Also,
you were
Disrupt J20 was an organization that protested and attempted to disrupt events of the presidential inauguration of the 45th president of the United States, whatever, Donald Trump, which occurred on January 20, 2017. The group was founded in July 2016 and publicly launched on November 11 after Trump won the 2016 United States presidential election. Disrupt J20's inauguration protests were part of a wider array of protests organized both locally and nationally from a more extensive initial plan. The protests included efforts to blockade one bridge, that gets you landed in jail in Canada, and to shut down security checkpoints. James O'Keefe and Project Veritas had some success infiltrating Disrupt J20's planned inauguration efforts. Okay. Do I go down here? History and planning. Do we need anything more here, Nate?
No. It's just this is just, if you guys want to see about the history, the planning, and everything beforehand. And again, this was so they can stop Donald Trump from being inaugurated, to taking power. So this again is exactly what happened on January 6th, except a couple of days later. Now, I want to also add one more layer to it. So those 200 people that got arrested, you asked me earlier about them, right? Those 200 insurrectionists, right, who were trying to stop the transfer of power, who were trying to stop Trump from taking office. What do you think happened to them? Here it is.
Oh gosh. Okay,
sorry. This is the wrong one. I got to get the other one. See, I'm booming out. Let me get you the right one. This is what happened to him. Here we go. And boom.
Let's see this. Okay, here we go. Government drops charges against all inauguration protesters. But Nate, I'm going to ask you the obvious question. This is now Trump's government that's dropping the charges, correct?
It would have still, let me see, when did this happen? This was. It all depends on when it happened. So
Well,
this.
and I presume.
I'm trying
I
to
mean,
find out when this report was. This report was published January 6th. Yes. So this would be Trump's government. This would be Trump's
it would
government.
be at least Trump's DOJ. Same swamp, I imagine.
Yes,
swamp
same
creepers.
swamp, but it's Trump's DOJ at this point in time. Yes.
Okay. So we're not straw manning people. We're not. I'm steel manning actually to raise the arguments. Oh, but it was Trump's DOJ that decided to do it. Maybe they were showing benevolence. Maybe it was the same swamp creatures administrative state at the DOJ that said we're going to let all these people out. Screw Trump. Who knows? Okay.
But now look at what we've shown these people. The same, almost, except for nuance, almost the identically same thing happened. You had planning, right? That's what January 6th Commission is about, right? The planning. We have planning? Yes. The planning to do what? To stop the transfer of power, to stop the government from functioning. We have that, right? At that event. Did they destroy property? Yes. Did they burn buildings? Yes. Matter of fact, they went there for that purpose, and it wasn't organized. But that's not called an insurrection. That's called a small protest. A small protest.
I don't even remember it. It certainly was not depicted as being comparable to 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. And Seize the Day says exposing USA helps Canada and the world use the same playbooks. Use same playbooks. Honk. It's Canada's using the playbook of January 6th. So actually, if you could pull up the article, just read a little bit. All the charges against all of them were dropped. I suspect none of them were in pretrial detention until the charges were dropped.
I don't believe so. No, they were all, especially, and again, you're talking about burning buildings and burning houses, burning cars and all that stuff. So hold on, let me put it. Yep, the government dropped all the charges. We can read it. I'll blow.
Oh
it
yeah,
up
and
bit.
Nate, if you could, you cannot post into the chat. How do I add you? Nate,
Post
send me the
link?
links afterwards, and I'll put them all in the pinned comments. So that
Okay,
we can,
cool.
We can have access to this.
People can
So yeah, here I'll bring it back up. So all the charges dropped. The
let me-
solidarity we showed as defendants. Oh, sorry. Yeah, hold on. One said one activist whose charges were previously dropped. Okay.
So this is the charges they're dropping for burning up these cars. Here
No,
it
but
is.
and also I want to make clear about this. I'm not for persecuting any of these people either. Just punishments for appropriate crimes. Don't treat them the way the Jan 6 defendants are being treated. But my goodness, there's a disparity on all ends of this.
Yes. So I just watched it. Go ahead.
Go for it. No, you go. It's too small.
Watched it. Federal prosecutors on Friday moved to drop charges against the last 39 people accused of participating in the violent protests. Again, we're not calling it insurrection. Violent protests. The wording matters. On the day President Donald Trump's inauguration, the motion to dismiss charges by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Remember, this is Trump's Republican DOJ dropping charges against Democrats for violently rioting in Washington to stop him from taking office. So I just want to make sure people understand. The U.S. Attorney's Office seemingly ends an 18-month saga that started with the Justice Department attempting to convict more than 190 people. The effort saw the government facing off against an intensely coordinating grassroots political opposition network that made Washington the focus of a nationwide support campaign offering free lodging for defendants, legal coordination, and other support. So this is what happened to these rioters. This is not what happened to the January 6 rioters.
Nate, the limo that they burnt, that was not a presidential limo? Whose limo was
No, I don't know. They were just burning cars that were on the street. So anybody, if you parked your car on the street, they burned it.
Just so everybody knows, even though Corn Pop could be annoying to some, I don't ban people for being annoying, and the annoying people who are still here know that. Only spam and sex bots. So long as you don't do that. So this is January, an organization that was created specifically with the stated intent to frustrate or impede the inauguration.
Correct.
Hundreds of people, thousands of police, proper barricades, cordoning off the area.
Just to correct, thousands of people, only 200 got arrested, right? Because they were trying to call it a small protest. So you have thousands of people, 200 of them got arrested, and they're trying to pretend that this was a small protest. Whenever you hear 200 people got arrested, That's not a small protest. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. So
How many people got arrested up in the Canadian with the Canadian trucker stuff?
let's say even let's say 24 at most, but I think
Let's
it's
say
only
5 people got arrested. They'd have been, oh my God, there's so many people got arrested, right? Just imagine if 200 people got arrested at trucker convoy. What would they be saying?
My goodness, 100. Yeah. Well, what I can tell you with certainty, I'm going to Google it just to make sure. For the 3-week protest, I think maybe a dozen people were arrested, and I guarantee the bulk of it was the day the police showed up. Certainly not 200. Let me see.
But if you and just imagine if they burned a car like this, what would they be saying about it? How would they make it sound? Right? This is what I try to keep telling people. Don't fall for the political spin. Don't fall for the political spin, please. Right? This is politics. It's all they're playing here is politics.
It says
Good,
here.
Viva, I'm sorry. I hate to get on my high horse like
forget
this.
that. No, forget that. No, I just read an article in NPR that says police arrest more than 100 protesters as they break the siege at the Capitol. That was the day they came in. So, for 3 weeks, none. And then only when they come in and start actually. And I know some of the people who they arrested. Zot, the live streamer, a military hero who had his body blown apart in Afghanistan. They arrested him. And my understanding is they dropped a lot of the charges. They just hauled them out of Ottawa and then dumped them, elsewhere. So, okay, what was I going to say about? Yeah, go on.
No, but I just listen, and everybody understands my political persuasion here. I'm not fooling anybody, right? But what I like to be is fair, and I call it fair to a fault. The reason why I don't say January 6th is an insurrection is the same reason why I don't say this is an insurrection, because they're not. They're the same thing. Now, if Congress wants to try to solve the problem of people coordinating attacks to stop the transfer of power, I'm for that, right? Viva, you could get behind that, right? No matter if it's right or left. But this is not what they're doing. They're trying to ignore this one that when it was good for them, and then make this one that's not good for them into a political weapon.
Well,
that's what they're trying to do.
It's one step worse than that. They cannot pretend to not have been able to anticipate what they thought might have been coming. Although, because of your other deep dive, we know that they knew it was coming. They knew
what was
of the
coming.
plan.
Yeah,
they knew it. They didn't. Apparently, FBI, CIA, or intelligence was online, knew of the plans. Mainstream media was mocking the plans. They knew, but they've had the experience now to know how badly it could go south. And that was when things were set up properly, when their police staff were not understaffed because of COVID. And what do? This version 2.0, understaffed, bike rack, thingy things, 3 officers, none of them wearing riot gear. And
it's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault.
if I were inclined to think that if this word was not a setup, it was at the very least a setup to fail. The prior experience that Capitol Police had, and the authorities had, should really eliminate much doubt that anybody might have had out there that this might have been a setup to fail in the first place.
Well, they stopped it before, right? They stopped it before, just 4 years ago, right? So anybody who doesn't think they couldn't have stopped it, they stopped it before. Those people couldn't even get near the building because they were prepared. They weren't prepared this time.
What I find also fascinating, first of all, the story that I meant to bring up at the intro to this is that the January 6th hearing that was scheduled for tomorrow is postponed. Actually, you know what? Let me bring up the story because it's actually, I won't say hilarious, but probably telling as to why.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. CNN, what matters? The House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol has postponed the hearing scheduled for Wednesday. The next hearing is scheduled for Thursday afternoon. I'll be there, people. Oh, maybe I won't. We'll see. Democratic Rep. Zoe Lofgren of California, a member of the committee, listen to this, told reporters that the reason for the rescheduling was due to technical issues and not a big deal. It's just technical issues. The staff putting together all the videos, doing 1, 2, 3. It was overwhelming. So we're trying to give them a little room. First of all, they had a postponement or a delay yesterday because of a family emergency from one of the witnesses. I don't understand. I don't deny it or doubt it. But here, they've been investigating this for 500 days, putting together their findings for a primetime hearing, and we're expected to believe that they're still editing video together. They're still putting together the evidence. Something smells fishy.
I'm telling you, I'm going to tell you my theory. My theory is that they thought, and this is my theory. I'm thinking they thought that the videos and stuff they were portraying before were going to be better, and people were going to take them, and it was going to be more convincing. But they're not. So now they probably got somebody in to say, we got to redo this, so people understand. So it can make a better impression, because what they've been putting out now, some of the stuff has been okay, but most of it's been garbage. And again, it's all off the central premise that this is the first time this thing has ever happened.
Yeah.
Which now, if you're looking at this, if you're watching this show right now, for a fact that's not true. And we haven't even showed you the coup de grace to it, right? We still got another bomb to show you. So this is just part one of the bomb.
He means a news bomb, people.
A news bomb. Yeah, it's true.
He means a bomb, B-A-L-M. It's a lip balm, speaking of which. No, what I was thinking is, first of all, what do you think? I mean, you've been paying attention, but not necessarily. You've been paying attention to it. What do you think is the most damning piece of new evidence, or evidence even, submitted on either Thursday or yesterday's hearing? What do you think has been the most damning piece of evidence?
To be honest with you, the only thing I can say is that William Barr, him saying that this was all made up, that was damning to me. That was damning because it made it seem like it was damning. But I'm just a research guy. So even though he's saying it's all made up and there was no basis for it, as soon as you do the research, you're like, oh my God, well, he can't be right. So just so everybody is clear, I thought William Barr, when I first heard it, was a bomb. And I thought it was a lip bomb. I thought it was explosive. But when it comes to, then when I did the research behind it to see if what he was saying was accurate, I found out that he was wrong. There was actually stuff that was there. And the place I found it from, so you guys know exactly where we found it from, it wasn't from the Republicans. It was from the media. Matter of fact, it was from the liberal media, the stuff that they were saying. So let me set this up.
Well, we'll get there in 1 second.
Go ahead.
Let me just do one thing. I remember Bill Barr at the time saying, there's nothing there. And at the time, there wasn't even enough time to have meaningfully looked into anything. So when he said it, we didn't know he said, I told him it was bullshit. And like the committee loves the fact that Bill Barr is caught on video or said on video, the SH word. There was not enough time at the time Bill Barr said there's nothing to look into, or there's nothing here to have even looked into it. But I want to bring this one up. Mike Bruno is a sassy individual. Inauguration is not in the Constitution. There have been 7 swearing in of a president that needed to inauguration ceremony. I'll say this. I'm not...
Hold on. Let me challenge Mike here. Mike, you cannot become president until you take the oath of office. The inauguration is constitutionally mandated, but because the presidency ends on January 20th. So if Trump did not take the oath of office, then what happens is you'll have what's known as an acting president until he's able to take the oath of office. So you're wrong, because anybody who takes public office, which is in the Constitution, has to swear to the oath of office. So you're right. The ceremony may not be, but the fact that he does take it on January 20th is a requirement.
And Nate, you'll correct me if I'm wrong on this as well. If we're invoking the Constitution, Bruno, my understanding as well is that there's a constitutional process for challenging certification. Am I wrong about that, Nate?
You're right.
So if we're going to talk about the Constitution, you don't get to suck and blow. The Constitution applies. We agree. The Constitution provides for a challenging of the certification, and therefore to do it is not itself inciting an erection. But sorry, go for it.
But hold on. I don't even just to even respond to that. If you want, I can pull up the Democrats in 2017, on January 6th, 2017, when they were inside the House chamber protesting the counting of the ballots and had to be removed.
If you don't mind,
should we pull that up?
How quick you do that? You pull it up while I do a couple of super chats, because that I remember. And at the time, I did not consider that to be a constitutionally offensive measure. I thought it was partisan, but I didn't think it was a constitutional violation. I certainly didn't think it was an erectionary violation. I'll see it when you pull it up, and in the meantime, I'll just pull up the super chat. I'm not your buddy guy says, I don't trust Barr. He pushed the one of the eternal truths himself and oversaw the Justice Department when the eternal truth bad man was doing the bad man stuff. I don't trust Barr. Knowing what I know now, I don't trust Barr either.
Nobody trusts this guy.
Oh, and Diana B says, good point. This is why people couldn't get into Trump's inauguration, which is why I think he might have been miffed. It wasn't as big as it could have been because of the barricades, potentially.
Correct. They had to stop people from doing that. They had to stop people from trying to try to stop him from taking the oath of office. But nobody's going to say that though, right? Because you know why? Because they want you to forget it.
I did not put together at the time. But okay, imagine what a coordinated fight against tyranny would look like by the people. Okay, Nate, have you got that? Have you got that video?
Oh, I'm trying to find it.
Did someone just say stop saying inciting the erection? No, sorry, I have a lisp. When I say election. Okay.
Oh, you know what?
I don't even know what. You know what's funny? I'm not sure what's worse on YouTube: saying inciting the erection or inciting the insurrection. Well, I'm not sure getting it wrong is worse.
I can't because I can't find. Well, I can't find. I'm trying to look for it now. I can't find it because one of the people who actually got arrested was famous. Was on. I forgot the show like 90 Day Fiancé. One of those reality shows. But I can't find it right now. I'll continue to look for it. But I think but let's move on because I don't want to waste too much time looking for it.
Okay, now let's.
But as a matter of fact, I'll give it to you for a link so you can actually put it in when I do find it. Okay. Go ahead. But let's move to the second part. All right. So just so everybody understands, now the January 6th committees, we calling it fornication.
Oh yes, the election fornication. There's no advice.
Fornication.
There's no advice. Just not even repeating, or not even repeating, rebroadcasting what NPR broadcast. We all remember it.
Yes.
We saw it.
But just so everybody understands what we're about to show you. So the January 6th committee's big premise is that everything that they were saying about the election, the machines, any problems with the election was false. It was all made up. It was a lie. And that's what William Barr said. Remember earlier we were talking about William Barr? He said, they just made it up on the fly and ran with it. And I said, there's no evidence. This is just not true, right? But I'm going to show you something. See, when it was believed Trump was going to win the state of Georgia, the news media.
In 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
No, I'm sorry. In 2020.
Yes, in 2020.
In 2020.
When the news media believed Trump was going to win the state of Georgia in 2020, before the election, they produced a series of videos. And this is NPR. And
what is it called?
National Public Radio. And I'm going to play, we're going to show you now what they said 1 week before the election about the Dominion voting machines in Georgia. We're not going to say it. We're going to let you hear what they said about it.
It's NPR. It's government subsidized media. So if they say it, it's because the government subsidized it to some extent.
Now, first I'm going to show you when it was said. So this is Georgia's new voting machines solve election problems or make them worse, right? Question mark. October 26, 2020. So this is 2 weeks before. This is a week before Election Day. About a week before Election Day, maybe 2 weeks before Election Day. So this is what they did a whole series of videos on this, right? This is the fourth of the videos. So this is what they're saying about Georgia's voting machines. The ones that everybody's saying didn't have any issues. This is what they're saying about it 2 weeks before the election.
And now, by the way, before you even play it,
all right,
this is the one. It's 7 minutes and 11 seconds.
We're just watching a little clip.
Okay, and I'm just going to share the link because it's still on their platform.
It's still there. Yeah. All four of these. Matter of fact, I have a playlist. I'll put the playlist in the chat, in the private chat, so you can get it. I put it on a playlist on my channel so people can see it.
Against the state have uncovered several.
Sorry. Can you?
Oh no, I posted the link in the chat so people can get it. But
all right, let me play it. Let me play it.
Roll
you can hear it.
Troubling issue. Plaintiffs. But election security experts working for the plaintiffs in the lawsuit against the state have uncovered several troubling issues. Alex Halderman looked closely at the QR codes where the votes are encoded for the scanner.
By analyzing the structure of the QR codes, I've been able to learn that there's nothing that stops an attacker from just duplicating one. And the duplicate would count the same as the original barcode.
And in late September, another concern came to light. During testing, election workers found half the names of the 21 candidates for Senate intermittently disappeared from screens during the review phase. Dominion sent out a last-minute software patch.
I'm worried that the Georgia system is the technical equivalent to the 737 MAX. They've just made a last-minute software change that might well have unintended consequences.
We're gonna have a special
cause
guest pop
even
up here.
More severe problems on election day.
What's the 737 story? I don't get the analogy. But
They put a last minute fix on the 737, and it made the planes crash. So that's
a big problem.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Want to rush something which is mission critical, and this is mission critical, into production without proper time of testing. That's really one of the ways bad actors are finding the vulnerabilities to exploit, is looking for honest vulnerabilities and finding out if they can be weaponized, if they can be exploited.
Despite all the concerns, federal judge Amy Totenberg decided to let the election proceed with the ballot marking device system. The Secretary of State says post-election audits will bring any QR code discrepancies to light.
We're in the process of really, continuing to expand the capabilities that we have.
Look who's talking about, hey, we know there are issues. We know you're doing last-minute updates to make sure the system works. We know it may be a big problem, but guess what?
Does everyone know who Brad Ratburger is? I think Barnes refers to him as Ratburger. This is the guy. I think this is the guy. I believe he promised an audit and then did not follow through on the promised signature match on the audit in Georgia. Okay,
but that's because Brad, he's the person saying everything was good. But I just want this is the first. And this is not the only video they did. They did, just so everybody can see, let me close this up. They did 4 videos on this because they were trying to wave the flag. And their videos were called, Is Your Vote Safe in 2020? Right? This is all PBS NewsHour. What election officials think about paper ballots voting machines? Bad, bad, bad. And in Georgia primary election, chaos highlights a voting system deeply flawed. Now, if you say this now,
and Nate, if I may ask the question to which I already know the answer.
Go ahead.
What happened with the series, Mr. Nate?
It abruptly stopped after the election. After it seems like Trump won and people started questioning Dominion, then this series just abruptly stopped and everything is okay. So now
fascinating. And I would have loved to have been the one to discover this. I would have shamelessly done this solo stream, but it's like, no way, Nate. This is, I don't want to. This is not to like throw you under the bus or to put a card. This is your discovery. You're putting the pieces together. It's amazing.
No. This is just only thing. Like somebody in the chat, and obviously probably somebody who's upset, was saying we're grasping at straws. They've just told us there was no evidence and nothing that suggested there was anything wrong with the Dominion voting machines. I just showed you NPR did a four video series saying there's something wrong with the thing, right? Somebody said Nate is grasping at straws. Listen, you just called it an insurrection. I just showed you another insurrection that had just as many people got arrested, right? The same thing. Like, if we're just making this up, don't believe us. Just go look at it for yourself.
But not only that, there was CNN. There was a whole CNN series.
There was a whole CNN series ago. Yes, about Dominion.
Let me see if I can find this. 5 months, 4 years.
But I wasn't even challenging that. Like
I'm not gonna read the title on this, but I am gonna bring it up. Let me just stop screen. Just look at this. Is from 4 years ago.
This is 4 years. All right. So this no, but again, they want to, and the reason why I brought up the 2020 one because that was literally right before the election. They were saying there's problems with it before the election. Right after it, they're saying it then.
I will not read it. This is still on CNN. We watched. Now let me see. I don't know exactly. Oh, here we go. Look at this 1 year ago. LMAO top comment. CNN 3 years ago. CNN 2020. This is also still up there. This is.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I listen. As you guys know, I'm not a right winger. I'm someone who is evidence based, and this whole January 6th stuff is BS. It just is. It just is. When you look at the evidence, you look at behind, and when Robert and when Barr says, well, there was nothing to even suggest that there were issues with the things. I can't say what I want to say. The things. You see it for yourself.
there was no erectile dysfunction.
Yes,
Boris.
yes.
I have looked. There was nothing dysfunctional about that. No, but at the time, one of the other things, my major takeaway from the Jan 6 hearing, there's been no real new news whatsoever.
No,
there
nothing
were
really.
Bill Barr clips. I don't even think were new because we knew what Bill Barr said at the time.
Yes, I agree.
Hannity saying, "Forget about the fortification stuff. No more talk about that." I didn't know that, but that makes
not really
Hannity
moving
look bad. I think, or makes him look like he's
playing both sides.
Well, yeah, and catering to certain interests. Like, okay, fine, now we can't do that, so let's not jeopardize ourselves. But other than that, I haven't seen anything new. But they keep saying that thing, Nate. 60 lawsuits filed by Trump or Trump allies, which includes a lot of other people who might have filed less than quality suits. Half of them were dismissed on procedural grounds.
Yeah.
But the other half, were dismissed on more substantive grounds, but without ever really getting to the any meaningful evidentiary hearings. Okay, hold on. Let me bring this up right here. We got not a band account. I'm not going to read that. There was a comprehensive documentary called The Black Box by Bev Harris. How? Yeah. Well, there was one from 4 years ago on CNN. There was another one from a decade ago on CNN. There was one from 2020.
Your mix is going out again. Hold on. Just count to 3. There you go. You're back now.
I might have a loose cable.
Your cable's loose. You're good now. Yeah.
So I'm going to keep my hands off the table. They ran previous broadcasts, and people don't know or forget or don't want to remember.
Yeah. The problem is that whenever you show, me and Viva, we do love the facts, and when you show people just the god awful facts of it, then it opens their minds. And I think that's the issue now, is that when people finally find out the facts that this thing just wasn't made up, this is what the left was saying. They literally are saying what the left was saying. Think about this. On Monday, the left is saying it, and on Tuesday, the right says it, and it's misinformation. That's essentially what's going on, right? Before the election, the left is saying, the opinion's bad. Be careful. Right after the election, the right is like, you're right. And the left is like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. That's a little what we're going through right now.
And you watch this January 6th committee hearing, and other than its indirect objectives being totally clear, they're saying these things over and over again where you have clips. They're saying today about the Fauci juice, the exact opposite of what they said about it when Trump was the one who was on the brink of who's going to take
Correct.
it. All these, and now they're saying about the election, best in history. You can't even talk about it. Whereas their own media entities, no less than in 2020, 2016, 2010, were
days
raising
before the election.
alarms. Yeah,
days before the election. Yeah. So I just want to say, people, you're not crazy, but just understand. This whole thing is spin and gaslighting, and it just, it's meant to pitch narrative, but we have to understand where the narrative's on, where they're not. Let facts and evidence lead your analysis. And the weird part about it, the only way we actually remember this is because we actually did the research and found it out. Because don't forget, you would hear about none of this if you weren't listening to Viva's channel now. You would know. You would be blind to it. You would be blind.
Let's hear this. Not that YouTube scrubbed most of the channels that covered DC January 20. That's interesting.
Yeah.
We don't have proof the election was changed, but we have proof foul play did happen. Just a question of how much. The refusal to even look into it is what triggers people. The thing about this is, people can poo-poo me or get mad at me for saying it. I think the going after the voting machine issue was the red herring.
Yeah.
They described it black and white in that Time article that it was a concerted effort. Big tech, special interests, controlling information, changing the laws and the rules. It was the lawful stuff that was done, particularly in a lot of.
You hit the table again.
Say it again.
All right. No, you hit something happened when the audio went out.
It was the legal changing of the rules, and then potentially, other stuff that really had the impact. But I still think, even exaggerating the risks of these voting machines when their machine was doing it in 2016 and, right up until they stopped. I think that's a little bit of media hype. It's a little bit of media fear porn. There's always these risks. The big issue was what we know. It's what they described in that Time magazine. What I find shocking is that they released the 200 arrested people in January 2017, and the 500 that they've arrested after January 2021, the QAnon shaman, 41 months in jail. Brandon Strzok, after pleading to a petty misdemeanor, 3 months house arrest, 3 years probation, maximum fine. It's inexplicable, unjustifiable.
It makes you question. It definitely makes you question, what's going on. And it also, one thing it lets you know is that you can't be fooled by the political spin. And the January 6th committee, that's all this is. It's political spin, unfortunately. And people just should be aware of it. And they should be aware of the counterpoints. So next time someone comes up and says, well, hey, guess what? Next time someone comes in and says, hey, guess what? This is the first time it ever happened. No, it's not. It's not the first time. Oh, hey, guess what? There was never a problem with the machine. No, guess what? There was. That's what they were saying.
The issue is not that there was ever a problem, that there was ever a concern expressed. Let's just
correct. Yes.
Hear this. You know what pisses me off? It's the
I like the music.
If somebody wanted to, it would be pretty easy to fake an election.
That's enough. That's all we need to hear. Oh my goodness. So that one was the second one from. Here we go, and this is from 9 years ago. Now again, steel manning it.
Any type of electronic system, be it my smartphone or my laptop computer, they're vulnerable. They can be hacked.
Pause it real quick.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the criticism with this is going to be is that, hey, it's 10 years ago.
Yes.
God forbid if you use a computer from 10 years ago, it's going to be totally different, right? It's going to be slow. It's going to be this. But what they can't deny is 2 days or a week before the election, right? They can't deny that. Now, they can deny this.
I was going to steelman it to say, yes, this is 10 years ago. Technology has come a long way. But if anybody thinks that technology evolves and hackers don't, or that life evolves but predators don't, you have a very weak understanding of the evolution of life. Predators evolve with evolution itself in order to adapt to the new defense mechanisms of the prey. So,
correct.
Yes, technology has. This has 1,548 views, and it's on CNN with. That's not conceivable. Nate, this has 1,584 views. 10-year-old broadcast on a channel with 14 million subs, and there's someone from 4 days ago. Okay, I'm gonna go put this in the chat. We'll let people. Comments are still enabled, people. So,
well, listen.
Yes.
I do want to know. Let us know in the chat though, and in the comment section. How do you feel about this? Does it change your perspective about the whole January 6th thing? Does it change your perspective about the whole voting machine issue? Right. Again, I suggest you go look at NPR and go look at CNN and go look at all them and look at their exposés on these things right before the election and see how their stories have changed. Because again, this is, and I think Joe Rogan said it best. He said it's weird how one day something can be misinformation, and then the next day it can be truth. And we're seeing the exact opposite here, where we're seeing there was a concern, such a concern that they were ringing alarm bells. There was lawsuits about this stuff, and then right after, it's the most secure in history. And on top of that, there was really nothing. There's nothing to see here, even though we were concerned just a couple of days ago. So
I just can't get over it. All of that stuff aside, because like I say, my focus as we focus on the channel with Barnes was not so much on the Sidney Powell Giuliani allegations. It was on the way the rules were actually changed. And I didn't appreciate, the litigation that the DNC had instituted in the year leading up to the election, the secret settlement agreements that they entered into, facilitated. It's not cheating if it's the new rules. And the issue was whether or not the GOP Republicans were ahead of the curve enough to even have the foresight of what the DNC was trying to do via changing the rules, changing access to information, et cetera, et cetera. What really blows my mind is radically different treatment between the January 6, 2020 or 2021 defendants and the January 2017 defendants. They all get their charges dropped. They're not in pretrial detention for 500 plus days. They're not having the book thrown at them.
Go free.
They go free. And this time around, How do you qualify which one was more violent than the other? This time they were parading around a restricted area. They entered the Capitol building. You know, they stole not a mantle.
Yeah.
What's that thing where you a podium?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it's more or less violent, I'll even operate on the basis that it was equally violent, even though I don't actually think I believe that. I'll operate on that basis. Nothing can explain the discrepancy of the treatment between the accused. And what this committee's doing about it, exploiting it and running a 500-day investigation.
Well, oh, there it is. You're back now. Yeah, your audio keeps jumping in and out. One thing I also think is that if you just look at the central premise of what the January 6th committee is doing, their central premise is this was a planned insurrection, and the people came, and that's what they wanted. They accomplished what they wanted to do. But then if you go back 4 years, it was a plan, the same exact thing. But the only difference between the two events is the way security reacted to it. And one, security was there. You had thousands of officers there. Everything was there. In one event, you didn't, and that's why you have it. So that's why my theory from the beginning and even till today still holds is that January 6, 2021 was a security failure. And that's why the head of the police department resigned. That's why all the top brass in the House chamber, the sergeant at arms for both the House and the Senate, that's why they resigned. They did all because it was incompetence. It was a high level of incompetence. And now they're trying to take that incompetence and weaponize it into a political football. Well, it's even though they were incompetent, it's still Trump's fault because Trump had the people come. But they won't acknowledge that in 2017. It was Hillary's fault because she was saying that the Russians had done this and that Trump was an illegitimate president and there was the Russians, and we want to stop this madman from stealing the presidency, right? So it's again, it's not what happened, but what was being said. If that's the truth, they should be investigating January 20. They should be investigating 2017 as well as 2020. Well, that would be something they should do.
First of all, it's a lectern, not a podium. Thank you very much, Klaus. Yes. As far as I'm concerned, they should not be investigating January 2017. They should be investigating the police failure in January 2021. You say, well, I say you say incompetence or police failure. My sincere question is, was it a planned failure? You know, I think of the scene from Breaking Bad where Walter White is watching Jesse's girlfriend choke on her own vomit and does nothing to intervene. Once you see it happening and you do nothing to intervene, you're effectively causing it. And whether or not they saw it happening in real time or they knew it was going to happen beforehand because they knew what happened 4 years earlier and the stuff got rowdy. And that was when they had thousands of officers, proper fencing. Did they set it up to fail? Did they know it was going to fail? Did they see it failing and still fail to intervene? All equally morally culpable. This January 6th committee should be investigating the lapse of the police, not but it's the political motivation. They want to find a way to go after Trump criminally, all of any populist GOP candidates criminally, and
Mike is that again.
You don't have to fortify elections if you can control who gets on the ballot.
Well, with that said, bro, I think we're good. I got to get out of here and start cooking food for the kids when you're ready. But this was fun. I hope people learned something. And I know there's a lot of people out there who's going to hate us both for bringing out this information. But again, we're not saying believe us. We're saying go look at it for yourself.
Nate, if you don't mind, I'll stick around for 2 minutes to take some chat. First of all, I'll do this back in 2017. Trump-fed prosecutors were not in place yet. Those were Obama prosecutors back in January 2009. Obama had to retake the oath in the Oval Office because Roberts fudged it at inauguration.
Yes,
I did not know that.
That's true.
This is ultra MAGA Marty Smith fan. Thank you very much, Nate.
You're right. He's right.
I'm gonna text you afterwards. I'm gonna go read. There's a one Rumble rant, and I'll take some.
Oh, good. I'll wait. I got some time. I'll wait for a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
We got one Rumble rant on the Rumbles, which says, "Thanks, Nate. Viva, great work as usual." And I just want to see. There was one other one here. Brian Berthold says, Viva, you watched your country steal fuel from people. You did nothing to stop it, so you are guilty. That's the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Well, first of all, Brian, the police were taking fuel from the truckers. That, by and large, was not true. But if the argument here is, I don't even understand the argument. I'm not telling a police officer what to do. But I was there documenting it in real time because I wasn't there as a participant. I was there as a documentarian. Someone had something about, oh, PBS is watching you. They nuked the comment section.
What?
PBS. Let's go back. Let's go back now. Hold on. Here, boom, shakalaka. Okay. What was the PBS broadcast? That was PBS. Let's see. Here we go. This one.
Protecting the voting.
Goodbye. And Nate, did this happen in real time? You're on mute.
Well, go to a here. Let me go to another video. Go to it because they did 4 of them. Let's see if any of the other ones. Go to PBS NewsHour and see if they're nuking comments.
This was the one that we just definitely saw. So I go PBS NewsHour, and what do I put in?
Just look at any of the newer ones because there's usually a newer one that's up there, and see if they allow comments on a newer one. Then we know that this one, and scroll down, see if they allow comments.
Comments turned off. No, but I
they
think
turn off comments on them all.
No, but hold on. I think at the beginning of this stream, unless
you looked at it, you looked at a comment though.
But I think that was the CNN.
I think it might have been the CNN. Let me look.
It might have been the CNN. Anyway, once we're done with this, I'll go back and look. Nate, I think we did something great. Thank you very much for.
Oh yeah, this is good. People's eyes have been opened today.
But the amazing thing is, the fortuitous, but for the typo when you put in January 6, 2020, and then it opens up the portal to the truth. It's a beautiful place to be. Chat. Look, that'll be it for today. Tomorrow I'm in transit, so I may or may not get to do a stream, but we'll see. Maybe I will in the evening, depending on what happens. Stay tuned. I was on Pantelis today doing a podcast. I think he's going to publish it tonight or tomorrow. So Pantelis Comedy on YouTube. Everyone who doesn't know who he is, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Canadian Joe Rogan. He does amazing podcasts. Nate, stick around. We'll say our proper goodbyes. Everyone in the chat, let me just make sure that on Rumble, there's nothing else. Stay tuned, though. It's going to be a good week. Nate, stick around. Everyone else, see you soon. Peace out, peeps.